thanks to President Biden and you for firmly supporting Israel's right of self-defense. We have common goals of peace, security, and prosperity.
There's a lot of hard work ahead to restore hope, respect, and some trust across communities. But we've seen the alternative, and I think that should cause all of us to redouble our efforts to preserve the peace and improve the lives of Israelis and Palestinians alike.
The United States standing shoulder to shoulder with America's closest ally in the Middle East. Secretary of State Antony Blinken meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu before sitting down with Palestinian leader Mahmoud Abbas. The talks trying to bolster a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. Fox News contributor Karl Rove is a former deputy White House chief of staff. And Karl, of course, in the wake of a ceasefire, you have a moment to take a step back and think about how things went and where things are going. Take a listen to Ted Cruz. He was on with Hannity last night.
There are a whole lot of Senate Democrats. They don't want to vote on my resolution because they don't want to have it apparent to the crazy left activists who they're terrified of where they stand. Do they stand with Israel or do they stand with Hamas and terrorists?
Karl, get your take this morning?
Well, obviously the White House doesn't agree with the Democrats in the Senate that Ted Cruz is talking about because they in this one, I think, handled it adroitly. They allowed the Egyptians to take the lead. The Egyptians were seen as honest interlocutors between Hamas and the Israelis, and the Israelis they gave the Israelis time to degrade Hamas's abilities, and Iron Dome worked. And at the end of the day, Hamas emerges from this weakened militarily, and Israel emerges with stronger relations with its neighbors, and at the end of the day, that's what will matter to Israel. Now, on the U.S. political front, the Democratic Party, the Democratic Socialist wing of the Democratic Party, is increasingly anti-Israel, and that's problematic for the Democrats.
Well, on that point, Bernie Sanders said, at a moment when U.S.-made bombs are devastating Gaza and killing women and children, we simply cannot allow another huge arms sale to go through without a congressional debate. That's the $700 million for Iron Dome and other assets there on behalf of the Israeli military. However, Democratic Congressman from Minnesota, Dean Phillips, he says, I'll say the quiet part out loud. It's time for progressives to start condemning anti-Semitism and violent attacks on Jewish people with the same intention and vigor demonstrated in other areas of activism. The silence has been deafening. End quote on the tweet, Karl. How does this play out then?
Well, Dean Phillips is a more traditional Democrat. I look to Richie Torres, who is a Democratic Socialist and a strong supporter of Israel. So there's a divide even within the hard left of the Democratic Party. But I don't think either the White House nor the Democratic leadership wants to show the divide inside the Democratic Party. And frankly, the Democratic Socialist left is making a mistake by trying to have a debate over this. Bernie Sanders, if he tried to block the sale of arms to Israel, would end up on the losing side in a big positive vote for such aid and a very small vote against such aid. I frankly think that might be healthy because it would certainly show the current state of affairs inside the Democratic Party. There is a growing sentiment against Israel, but I think it's still a minority sentiment inside the Democratic Party. So virtually every Republican and most Democrats together stand in support of a democratic Israel and its right to exist.
What about here at home, Karl? Do you think that the White House and President Biden himself, or even the Vice President, should come out and do more than just tweet about anti-Semitic attacks here in the United States? Is there something they can do to try to help tamp that down?
Well, I do think they need to make it clear how anathema this is and how the President of the United States and his administration strongly believe that tough measures must be taken. This is, this has gone from just simply being the purview of, sort of white supremacists to now being tied up intimately with the political dispute over the right of the Palestinians. And what is happening now is it's becoming routine to express your support for the Palestinians, too routine to express your support for the Palestinians by also engaging in anti-Semitic violence. I mean, it's shocking how routine this has become. I mean, people having dinner, people in largely Jewish neighborhoods walking down the street. The kind of assaults we've seen are deeply troubling.
Karl, there was another topic there back here at home, in your state of Texas, actually. Beto O'Rourke apparently is considering perhaps running for governor. Here's what the AP says. There's no road trip, no soul searching, no beard or blogging, but Beto O'Rourke is making a political life decision again. Is he going to do it?
If I were a betting person, I'd say Robert Francis O'Rourke is going to run, and I'll tell you why. Because for the last 2 years, since he was last defeated in his presidential bid, he created an organization in Texas called Powered by People. Now, here's what they said on Saturday. Got an email. Powered by People. Governor Greg Abbott failed Texans this week. He declared Texas would opt out of federal unemployment benefits tied to COVID-19. If Abbott truly cared about workers, then he should be leading efforts to pay people more, provide universal health care, and make Texas a right-to-organize state. Now, that sounds to me like a guy who's running for governor. And I suspect we will see Robert Francis O'Rourke continue his Shakespearean consideration of the issue until later in the year when the filing deadline is. Right now, the Democrats have three sort of people talking about their nomination for governor. Robert Francis O'Rourke. Lurking in the background is Julian Castro. And then, of course, that well-known political activist, Matthew McConaughey.
And
that's
their chances,
their ticket
Karl?
so far.
In 10 seconds, their chances?
I think they get beat. Texas is a red state. They threw so much money and so much effort last time expecting to carry it for Biden, defeat Senator John Cornyn, take the Texas House of Representatives, pick up at least 3 Republican seats, and they didn't win any of those. And they spent an ungodly amount of money doing it. So, Robert Francis O'Rourke will enter the race, I suspect, for the 3rd election in a row, and I suspect the outcome will be the same as in his presidential and Senate races, defeat, and a 3rd one coming up.
He may run across Texas. It was Nebraska last time, wasn't it, Dana? Nebraska? Yeah. Iowa? What was it? Remember he ran and he blogged about it. He was doing the running thing.
I don't remember that one.
Oh, yeah. I went on for weeks.
No. You're talking about the drive across America to find his soul,
yes,
to understand America intimately, to muse upon the potentialities. And remember, he was born to do this, so I suspect he's born to run a 3rd time.
All right,
but he has your email.
Keep us posted.
Thanks, Karl.